Ever get stuck in those late-night internet arguments? You know, the ones where you just know you're right, feeling like you could single-handedly fix the internet one Wikipedia link at a time.
In there.
It's like a rite of passage. But seriously, have you ever stopped to think about how those online conversations evolved? From those early days to, well, whatever this is now.
Definitely a journey.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. We're taking a close look at this insightful Medium piece by Best 101 Bits called The Evolution of Internet Discourse, From Innocent Arguments to Information Warfare.
Catchy, right?
Definitely grabs your attention.
And talk about setting the stage. They start with that classic XKCD comic. You know, the one with the sleep-deprived stick figure glued to their computer at 3 a.m., determined to win that internet argument no matter what.
Yeah, that one's iconic. It's such a perfect time capsule, right? It takes you right back to that early internet vibe. When we were all digital knights on a quest for truth, armed with nothing but Wikipedia links and maybe a grammar correction or two.
The Wild West of the internet.
Totally. Best 101 Bits calls this the age of digital innocence, and it honestly fits. Back then, dropping that perfect link felt like winning the internet. Was it a little naive? Maybe. But there was a certain charm to it.
Oh, absolutely. It was a time when widespread internet access was still relatively new. The internet was this vast, unexplored frontier, and people felt this incredible sense of possibility, like they were shaping this new world.
So, like internet pioneers, homesteading in the digital world, staking their claim with facts and logic.
Laughs lightly.
Yeah, kind of. But, as the article points out, that urge to correct, even with the best intentions, could backfire. Because even arguing in good faith, especially online, can create echo chambers and actually fuel polarization.
Right. Like, were we so busy trying to win with facts and figures that we forgot to actually listen and consider other perspectives?
That's the irony, isn't it?
Big time. And it makes you think about that, well, actually, culture of the early internet. How much of it was really about finding truth? And how much was about, well, showing off a bit, being the rightest person in the room, or in this case, the chat room?
Such a good point. Because the internet became the stage, right? And we as humans crave that spotlight, whether we admit it or not. So it makes sense that the pursuit of truth might have gotten mixed up with a bit of digital peacocking. But somewhere along the line, things changed, right? Like the article mentions how political correctness went from this kind of obscure academic term to like a weaponized buzzword.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happened.
It became this way to shut down conversations, you know, without actually dealing with the real issues at hand. It's like they moved the goalposts, and suddenly just having the facts on your side wasn't good enough anymore.
Absolutely. And that shift set the stage for what came next. You know, what the article calls alternative facts.
Don't even get me started on alternative facts.
It's a phrase that still makes you scratch your head, right?
Totally. It's like saying up is down or something. It just highlights how the whole idea of a shared reality was being undermined.
Exactly. And the article does a great job of explaining how misinformation kind of evolved from there. It wasn't just about disagreeing anymore. It became about manipulating people's perceptions and going after truth itself.
Okay, so let's break down those stages of misinformation that the article talks about.
Sure. So it starts with manipulating people's emotions. Think about those clickbait headlines that are designed to make you angry or scared.
Oh, yeah, those are everywhere.
They're so good at playing on your emotions that you don't even stop to question if what you're reading is true or not.
It's like they're pushing all your emotional buttons before you even realize what's happening.
Exactly. And then comes the plausible deniability stage.
Which is basically like, I'm not saying it's true, but...
Right. They mix in just enough truth to make the lie seem believable.
Which makes it even trickier because then you start doubting yourself.
Precisely. It's like that saying, if you repeat a lie often enough,
people will start to believe it.
Yeah.
And then just when you think it can't get any crazier, they hit you with the information flood.
Oh yeah, the fire hose of information.
They just bombard you with so many different stories and so much noise that you can't tell what's real and what's not.
Exactly. It's like information overload on steroids.
Totally. And to top it all off, the final stage is to discredit the people who are actually telling the truth.
Right, so they attack the media, they discredit experts, and they try to make anyone who questions their narrative look like the bad guy.
It's a classic tactic, right? If you can convince people that the sources they should be trusting are actually the enemy, then they're more likely to turn to you, the manipulator, for the truth. But how did all of this impact people? So basically, we've gone from these kind of earnest Wikipedia-fueled debates to like, well, a digital battleground where information is straight up weaponized.
It's a pretty bleak picture.
Yeah, it kind of makes you want to log off forever. But the article ends on a hopeful note, talking about this need for a new kind of digital citizenship.
Right, and I think that's a really powerful way to think about it.
I'm here for it. But like, what does it actually look like? How do we be good digital citizens in this crazy online world?
Well, it starts with building resilience. Not letting every piece of misinformation we come across send us spiraling. It's about not letting those emotional manipulators get to us so easily.
So like not letting them push our buttons.
Exactly.
Right.
We need to learn how to spot those tactics, and sometimes the best way to win is to just walk away.
Ooh, I like that. Disengaging is self-care. But what about when we do need to engage? When it's something we really care about, how do we make sure we're not adding to the problem?
That's where being really picky about the information we consume and share comes in. You know, taking a beat before we hit that retweet button, double-checking those sources, and remembering that just because something fits with our own beliefs doesn't mean it's true.
It's so easy to get stuck in our own little echo chambers, though.
It really is. And that's why understanding the psychology behind misinformation is so important. The more we get why people fall for it, how it spreads, and how our own biases make us vulnerable, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this whole mess.
So it's like knowing the magician's secrets, right? Makes the show a lot less confusing, even if you still can't figure out how they pulled that rabbit out of the hat.
Precisely. It's not about being cynical. It's about having a healthy dose of skepticism and thinking critically.
So to wrap up this deep dive, what's one piece of advice you would give our listeners about being better digital citizens?
The article really emphasized that for some people, being wrong isn't a mistake. It's a tactic.
Mm.
They're playing a whole different game. So my advice would be to think about this. What's one small thing you can do today to be more aware of those tactics? How can you have online conversations in a more thoughtful way and not get caught up in manipulation?
Such great questions to leave us with. It's a good reminder that the internet is an amazing tool, but like any tool, it needs to be used responsibly, thoughtfully, and maybe with a dash of healthy skepticism. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, next time you feel like jumping into that online debate, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Until next time.